is the greatest rapper of all time.
You all day about who's the best MCs, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas.
Good day and good night. Welcome back to the High and Low Retrospective, the place where we rewind and rewatch the shows, the sounds, and the cultural moments that made us who we are. In 1999, Blaze magazine tried to answer a question hip-hop had been asking itself since its birth. Who are the greatest MCs of all time? Their 50 Greatest MCs issue was more than a list. It was a declaration, a moment when the culture stopped long enough to look at itself before the internet, before streaming, before every opinion had a platform. This was hip-hop's last analog judgment, printed in ink, debated on corners, and trusted because it came from the magazines that defined the era. The year was 1999. Hip-hop had grown from park jams to prime time, from mixtapes to movie soundtracks. It was no longer underground. It was the pulse of pop culture. Jay-Z was selling out arenas. Lauryn Hill had just won 5 Grammys, yes, 5. DMX dropped 2 #1 albums in the same year, 2 #1s. And somewhere between the pen and the pixel, hip-hop became self-aware. But before blogs and algorithms decided who was hot, magazines were the gatekeepers. The Source, Vibe, XXL, Rap Pages, and Blaze, they didn't just cover the culture, they defined it. Their words crowned kings, started beefs, and built myths. Before blogs and algorithms decided who was hot, their pages were sacred spaces, monthly snapshots of hip-hop's evolution curated by editors who acted like cultural referees. The Source was the law of the land, the self-proclaimed Bible of hip-hop. A 5-mic rating from The Source could make an album a classic overnight. They only gave it out 16 times in the magazine's history. Its unsigned hype column broke artists like Biggie, Eminem, Mobb Deep, DMX, and Common, who was known as Common Sense back then.
The Source, we kind of ran shit back then.
And they needed the 5 mics.
Yes.
It was very influential. We looked for the credits in the album.
Yes.
We read the
And
write-ups
he was
because
in
y'all was the
control of
one.
that.
Because y'all was the only ones that we could find out what was Jay-Z really thinking.
Right.
But by the late 90s, The Source was beginning to show cracks. Controversies, internal politics, and corporate influence were slowly eroding its credibility. Then came Vibe, founded in 1993 by Quincy Jones and Time Inc. It brought polish and mainstream legitimacy to the culture. Vibe covered hip-hop and R&B with the gloss of Rolling Stone, photo shoots, fashion spreads, long-form profiles. It made stars look cinematic, turning rappers into icons for a broader crossover audience. XXL, launched in 1997 by Harris Publications, was hip-hop's answer to Sports Illustrated. Big, bold, unapologetic. It positioned itself as The Source's direct rival with cleaner visuals, fewer politics, and a hunger to capture a younger generation raised on MTV, BET, and mixtapes. Where Vibe chased elegance, XXL chased edge. And then there was Blaze magazine, the rebel that never got the time it deserved. Founded in 1998 by the same company behind Vibe, Blaze was meant to be Vibe's tougher, street-level sibling. It focused on lyricism, authenticity, and the craft of MCing at a time when hip-hop was becoming commercialized and commodified. The editorial team was smaller, hungrier, more fearless, unafraid to challenge hip-hop's hierarchies. Where Vibe put artists in suits, Blaze put them in cipher circles. It wasn't about celebrity, it was about credibility. And in just its 3rd issue, the editors went for something no other magazine had dared to do: rank the 50 greatest MCs of all time. Not by album sales, not by radio play, but by skill, influence, and cultural impact, measured through instinct and respect, not data. It was a bold, old-school act of authority, the editors acting as cultural historians at a time when there was no YouTube, no Spotify, no social media echo chamber. If The Source was the Bible, Blaze was the sermon. Short-lived, raw, and rooted in truth.
Don't sweat the technique.
You know it's funky, 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 cause you heard it from hearsay. That's the sound of the police.
The top of the list read like scripture, names that felt carved into the foundation of hip-hop itself. Rakim at #1, the architect. He didn't just rhyme, he rebuilt language. Before Rakim, rap was rhythm. After him, it was mathematics, measured, meticulous, and eternal. KRS-One at number 2, the philosopher that made sense. He made the mic a podium, the battle a sermon, the stage a classroom. Biggie at 3, and Tupac at 7, the immortal duality, forever intertwined. One embodied the dream, the other the revolution. They were still gone. Biggie had passed in 97, Pac in 96, yet their shadows loomed large and still dictated every rhyme. Big Daddy Kane at 4, LL Cool J at 5, Cool G Rap at 6, the holy trinity of the golden age, as they say. Kane made cool an art form. LL Cool J turned charisma into empire. Cool G Rap sharpened the blade of street realism. 3 different styles, one shared purpose, evolution. For Blaze, greatness wasn't popularity, it was presence. Who changed the craft? Who made rhyme feel like revelation? Slick Rick at 8, the storyteller reborn, back from exile, his crown untarnished. Jay-Z at 9, the opportunistic hustler turned MC with a nose for commerce. Nas at 15, the poet between generations. Lauryn Hill at 21, the lone woman in the pantheon, equal parts grace and grit. Scarface at 22, the South's conscience before the South ruled the charts. The middle ranks told the story of balance, lyricists who lived between worlds. Q-Tip and Common kept jazz and thought alive when radio forgot them. Redman, Method Man, and Busta Rhymes reminded everyone that personality could be poetry too. And then came the outer edges, the coasts and the corners of the culture. Ice Cube, who had already dropped classics like America's Most Wanted, Lethal Injection, The Predator, Death Certificate, Too Short, E40, those two were the kings of the Bay Area. Snoop Dogg, a newborn legend, mentored by Dr. Dre, they were the voice of the West. Swaggered but soulful. And from Atlanta, you had André 3000 and CeeLo Green on the list. The strange and the spiritual, the future disguised as the fringe. The list wasn't perfect. It wasn't meant to be. It was a snapshot of hip-hop's lineage before globalization, before digital fame. A reminder that once there was a time when best still meant earned. Time is the great equalizer. When Blaze published its list, it felt definitive. But let's play a game and fast forward 10 years later to 2009, and then jump ahead another decade to 2019. The list read like a prophecy, part right, part blind, entirely human. Jay-Z, ranked 9th in 1999, wasn't yet an icon. He was a respected MC with a hustler's aura. But over the next 20 years, he redefined greatness itself. From the Blueprint to 444, from Marcy Projects to Madison Square Garden, he didn't just climb the list, he rewrote the criteria. By 2019, 2 decades and more than a generation later, his legacy wasn't about rhyme schemes, it was about empire building. Nas, who was at 15 on Blaze's list, was still a prodigy trapped in his own legend when Blaze published that issue. Illmatic, arguably the greatest rap album of the 90s, maybe ever, was only 5 years old. But Stillmatic and King's Disease, to some, to many, would cement him as one of the most enduring poets of the art form. Time turned his introspection into institution. Lauryn Hill, just outside the top 20, became both miracle and mystery. The miseducation of Lauryn Hill made her immortal, and her absence from music made her mythic. Blaze captured her at her peak. They just didn't know it would be her only one.
André with an accent, 3 triple O, been jamming. Lauryn is the middle name.
André 3000 at 33 would soon become hip-hop's avant-garde, redefining masculinity, melody, and madness through The Love Below. In 1999, he was eccentric. Jumped 20 years to 2019, he was untouchable. Scarface, the South's quiet prophet, became the blueprint for introspection in rap, influencing everyone from T.I. to J. Cole. He proved that wisdom could come with a draw, and that vulnerability was its own form of strength. Time also changed the rules. The internet democratized opinion, mixtape culture made legends local, streaming made fame infinite and fleeting. If Blaze measured greatness by skill, the 2000s measured it by influence. If the 1990s prized authenticity, the 2010s prized accessibility. Had the list been written in 2009, new names would have crashed the party. Eminem, Kanye West, Lil Wayne, MF Doom, Black Thought, Fonte from Little Brother, each pushed the craft into new territory, balancing virtuosity with vulnerability. If the list was made in 2019, a new class of elites would have been knocking on the door. Kendrick Lamar, Drake, J. Cole, Pusha T, Tyler the Creator, Royce the 5'9", the hierarchy that once seemed sacred had dissolved, but Blaze's spirit still matters, because for all the shifting trends and streaming stats, the essence of hip-hop greatness never changes. Authenticity, innovation, endurance. Blaze Magazine's 50 Greatest MCs was the last time hip-hop's gatekeepers could claim authority. It was opinionated, flawed, fearless, and honest. The magazine itself wouldn't last. By 2000, it was gone. But that list outlived the brand that made it. It became a cultural artifact, passed around message boards, cited in classrooms, debated for decades. It was a moment when hip-hop still felt small enough to fit in 50 names, and vast enough to mean something to everyone who read them. Blaze may have disappeared, but it captured a truth the internet can't replicate. That greatness isn't a data point, it's a conversation. So that's the High and Low Retrospective on Blaze Magazine's 50 Greatest MCs, hip-hop's last analog judgment, a list that crowned legends, challenged egos, and captured a culture before it was globalized. Some names rose higher, some fell into obscurity, and others became timeless. Thanks for watching this one. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the shows, the music, the films, the moments that made us who we are. Until next time, stay critical, stay nostalgic, and remember.
Cause the greatest rapper of all time died on March 9th.